Good evening, everybody. Michael Stern. Welcome to Credit Talk. Todd Stern is out this week, or actually he's probably out voting. So I am filling in tonight. Again, I was here a couple of weeks ago. We're going to take about 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and talk about really whatever you want to talk about. The phone lines are open, 312-738-1060. Any questions you might have about your credit situation, what you're looking to do in the next year, if you're looking to buy a home, you're looking to buy a car, and you're having trouble with your credit report, give us a call and we'll try to walk you through it. First off, people want to know, I get a lot of questions at the center about just how people, believe it or not, some people don't even know how to get a credit report. So there's a couple of ways to do that. And really the easiest one first is just to go online. There's a couple different choices. Now, there are some free services out there and there are some pay services. The most common free service to obtain a report online is Credit Karma. And besides that, the other good things about Credit Karma is that it also gives you updates when something brand new hits your credit. So that's really the best thing about Credit Karma. As far as the scores go, though, it's not the most accurate. So it'll give you a rough idea about where your score is, but if you really want to get an accurate score online, the credit bureaus want you to pay for that. $20, $30, you can get a year subscription. The best sites out there really are from the credit bureaus: TransUnion.com, Experian.com, Equifax.com. One that I like a lot is FreeCreditReport.com, and they also provide you updates of something brand new hits well. So again, that's the best way to do it. And also, by doing it online, it's not going to be a hit against you. It's called a soft pull, meaning it doesn't take points away when it's pulled. A lot of times when the banks, when dealerships, when lenders pull your credit, it's a hard pull and it takes points away. And that adds up on your report. And that's something that you don't want to have too much of. Now, a lot of times it's unavoidable, especially, again, when you're trying to buy a house or a car. But if you're just looking for your score in general, again, there's a lot of good options online that I suggest. And again, FreeCreditReport.com, it's worth the $20, $30 because there's so many people out there that I talk to that really don't even know what their score is. And you really shouldn't go 5, 6 months with all the fraud that's out there as well. You should never go longer than really 3 or 4 months without seeing your report and knowing what's going on. You should always know what's going on with your credit report. You should always see it because, as I say a lot of times, your credit report is your lifeblood. So we've got a caller right now. Why don't you go ahead? No, we don't have a caller. Okay, that was a miss. All right, misfire. All right, anyway, so a couple of things I want to talk about. Buying a home right now. Obviously, it's the number one question that we get at the center. What can I do? Where does my credit have to be to buy a home? Well, again, there's two types of loans out there that are most common. There's the conventional and there's unconventional. A conventional loan, we're talking maybe credit scores anywhere from 680 to 720. Unconventional, that would be an FHA loan, and that could be anywhere from as high as 640 to as low sometimes as 580. I've seen some lenders who are able to do it that low. Now, there's a lot of things that you have to qualify, a lot of qualifications to get an FHA loan of a score that low, but I have seen some lenders do it, and it's really the way to go for people that don't have higher credit scores. So if you talk to your lender, you know, they'll steer you. They know this stuff when you walk in there, and they'll guide you through it, and they'll walk you through it. The other thing is that, again, tonight's election night, too. I'm forgetting about that. It's a big night, speaking of housing and everything else that's going on. As I said last time I was on, people should watch the movie The Big Short. If you want to know a lot about what's going on right now with the housing market, especially during the recession, that is the best movie to watch right now. It gives you from the beginning what happened, and it explains it very well. Some people think, well, I don't understand the terms, everything that's going on. They break it down very, very nicely, and it really shows you what happened to the housing market starting in 06 and 07, and it was really all these subprime loans that were out there that just destroyed the housing market, these adjustable rate mortgages that people didn't know about. They didn't know that when 3-4 years into their mortgage that rate was going up. And my God, we had so many shoddy lenders out there at the time that were just selling homes to anyone. They didn't care, because before the recession, anybody could get a home. You could get a home with a conventional loan of under 600. It was, you didn't have to have a job. I mean, it was just insane. So it was a different world, but definitely check out The Big Short. It'll tell you more about everything that went down. I had another caller today at the center was asking about bankruptcies, was looking to file a bankruptcy, and should I file a bankruptcy? Well, first off, there's two types of bankruptcies that you can look into. There's a Chapter 7, which really is the most common, and there's the Chapter 13. Now, starting with the 13, a 13 is a form of consolidation where you are paying back. You're setting up with your creditors through the courts, and you are on a system where you're paying back every month a lump sum to your creditors. A Chapter 7, it's quite the opposite. Chapter 7 bankruptcy, you're not paying anything back. But there are qualifications that the courts look into that. Again, your income first and foremost, to see if you can qualify for a Chapter 7. So if you are, and I get a lot of calls, some people don't know, they think that, well, if they're in debt, $8,000-$10,000, they should file a Chapter 7. And that's, when people tell me that, I laugh, because, I wish that with mortgages and other bills that you acquire, especially when you're a homeowner, that you wish you only owned $8,000 or $10,000. Really, I had a caller today asking me, should I file a bankruptcy because he owes $10,000, which I just found laughable. You should never file a BK without owing at least, I always say 20 to 25, because first off, it's not free to file a bankruptcy. It's a process. So you gotta, again, if you're really in debt, that's something to do. But $8,000 to $10,000, again, to answer this person's call from this morning, it's not the way to go. I want to get back to one more thing that we were talking about at the beginning, was pulling of your reports. So when you go into, I was talking about when you go into a dealership, or when you go into buy a home, they're going to do what's called a hard pull, where they're going to pull your credit, and it's going to take points away, and that's unavoidable. They have to see your scores to see what you qualify. What's been going on with dealerships, and I get a lot of this from people, is that dealerships, unlike mortgage companies, they'll tend to pull sometimes 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times. They're looking for, it's not intentionally to kill someone's credit, but they're looking for the best deal out there. I've seen people with 700 credit scores buy a car and walk out with 630s. And the dealership doesn't feel entirely bad about it, because at the end of the day they feel that they got you the car and they worked and they got you the best deal. But you always should tell people, I tell this people every time, when you go into a dealership, make sure they only pull your credit once. It's not worth it, because first off, you don't even know if you're going to be buying the car in the first place. So again, make sure you only pull it once. Now, when you go into a lender, that's a different deal. You don't expect them to pull it too much, and then they're going to let you know what you qualify for. So again, pulling reports online, that is a soft pull, as we talked about earlier. You have to pay for that. But when the banks and when the lenders and the dealerships pull your credit, that is a hard pull. But again, as I said, it's unavoidable. They have to know what your scores are. The dealerships will take all 3 scores, and they'll do what's they call, they'll come up with a middle score, and that's going to be the number that you're going to qualify for. So if you have, say, a 700 with TransUnion, 680 with Experian, and 650 with Equifax, your score is going to be, your middle score will be somewhere around 770 or so, or 670 or so. So that's how it works. Now, dealerships only tend to pull one credit report, use only one report, and it's usually TransUnion, at least in the Midwest. So it's a different deal when you buy a car and when you buy a home as far as what they're looking at. Again, lenders are looking at all 3 scores, dealerships are generally looking at 1, and it's usually TransUnion, at least in Illinois. A couple other things here I had on my sheet tonight. A lot of people are asking me about credit card balances and where should they keep them at. And I always tell people that really the best that you can, first off, is to keep it around 30%. A lot of people are like, well, should I just pay it off? No, you don't, because you want to keep some trade lines open. You always want to keep open trade lines on your credit report. And to keep your balance, at least if you can, around 30%, that's going to help your score immensely. If you're flying somewhere around 80, 90% on your card, that's not going to do anything positive for your credit report. So you always want to try to keep it around 30% or a little under. And always, when it comes to paying your credit cards, always have your card set up on automatic debit. That way you never forget to pay your cards, because you simply don't have to remember. By setting it up on automatic debit, it automatically takes it out that month. I've had so many people tell me they go online, they make their payment, but it doesn't go through till the next day. Automatic debit on everything, whether it's your mortgage, your car, credit cards, everything. That way you do not have to remember. It's all set. You just want to make sure that you have enough money in your checking account to cover it every month, but that's a small thing and that's very easy to do. Another thing that someone was asking me about was fraud protection. I was talking to a person today, and they were mentioning that there are a bunch of addresses, about 6-7 addresses on their report that were not theirs, and they didn't know how those got on there. And what I tell people, that if you, first off, when you see something on your report that's not yours, my first question I ask them is, do you have any history of fraud? And if they say no, and then I wouldn't worry too much about the addresses. But if you do have, the biggest problem that I see when it comes to fraud is that, and this is a dangerous thing that's been going on for 30 years, is that when you have family members that are the same name, John Simon Sr., John Simon Jr., so many times the one or the other's information is going to wind up on the other person's report. Now, the credit bureaus aren't doing this intentionally, but they get confused very easily. They're dealing with millions of people, and it messes up someone's credit terrible. So for all future parents out there, it is not worth naming your kids Junior or whatever, because it has been nothing but a disaster. And this has been going on for 30 years with the credit bureaus. I see this a lot at the center. So be very careful with that. And what else did I want to talk about tonight? People too, when you pull your credit reports, you're going to see different scores. And everyone's like, well, why are the scores so different? My TransUnion is 50, 60 points different from my Equifax or my Experian report. Well, first off, each credit bureau has a different scoring system. But more importantly, not all marks get reported to the bureaus. So there could be some stuff on TransUnion that's not being reported to Equifax, whether it's a positive or negative line. So that's something that you need to keep in mind as well. But again, especially when you're buying a home, they take the 3 scores and they put them together. That's what's called a middle score, and that's the number they come up with, and they're going to use to determine what your rate is when you buy a home. So, again, as far as doing something about fraud, what I recommend is I tell a lot of people to go to transunion.com. By going to transunion.com, you can set up a fraud alert for free, and by doing it there, it sends it to the other bureaus, Equifax and Experian. So if you have any situations that you think are fraudulent on your report, it's really the best way to do it. Again, and it must be pretty easy to do, because everyone I've sent there seems to have an easy time doing it. Again, go to transunion.com, set up a fraud alert. It's free, and it will send it to the other bureaus. And again, there's a lot of fraud out there, more so than ever. So again, as I was saying in the beginning, always want to check your credit report at the very least, every 3-4 months at the very least. Always know what's going on with it. Your credit report is your lifeblood on everything that you are going to do, everything you're going to purchase. Everything comes down to the report. When I was younger, I didn't pay attention. I just didn't. I blame it on youth, because I didn't know. And my credit was a mess. And going through different companies, credit repair companies, I wound up getting it fixed. A lot of people ask about credit repair companies. Are they good? What I tell people is that go online and Google. and look for the ones with the best reviews. And the ones that have the best reviews, Google, one thing about it is that when you've got a company when you see a company that's got 100 plus reviews, that's a pretty good, that's a strong source right there to go to. And those are the companies you want to use, regardless if it's credit repair or consolidation. I always tell people, go to Google, go to the ones with the best reviews, and then use for bankruptcy too, bankruptcy's attorneys as well. And use the ones that have the best reviews, and then that'll steer you the right way, because a lot of people don't know where to go or what to do when it comes to fixing their credit. There's a lot of good credit repair companies out there, but you also want to make sure what they say and what they're telling you. Any companies that tell you that they make guarantees and they promise that this will be taken care of and that they'll have this done in a certain amount of time, walk away. First off, it's against the law. You can't do that. You want to stay with, these companies have to be staying within the rules and the regulations of the state of Illinois, and you have to stay within the law. You can't make promises and you can't make guarantees. And it's the ones who stay within the rules and the regulations of the state of Illinois, or for anywhere around the country, are the ones that stay in business. When the recession was first going down around, 07, 08, credit repair companies were popping up all over the place in Chicago. They were everywhere. And within a year, they were all shut down. Why? Where their contracts were all garbage. They were just, you could just light them with a match. They meant nothing. And again, they're making promises and guarantees. And, these companies don't realize that the state is watching everything that they do. And they all got shut down real quickly. So again, the ones that fly straight and stay within the rules and the regulations of the state of Illinois are the companies that you want to go to. Because they know what they're doing. Ones that have been in business for a long time, they know what they're doing. So again, for people who are looking for credit repair companies, look for ones that have the best reviews and the ones that have been around for a while, and they'll steer you the straight way. So a couple other things I wanted to talk about. Also, people were asking when they buy a home, what's the first thing they should do? Should we go and get a realtor, and should we go around shopping and looking for homes? Well, no, that's really the second thing you should be doing, because the first thing you need to do when you go and purchase a home, or you're in the process of buying a home, is you need to go to a lender, again, as we were talking about, and have them pull your credit and let you know where you are, what your rate is, what you qualify for. And then, if your numbers are good, then you go to your realtor. And then you go looking around, because at that point you know what you qualify for. So many people put the carriage in front of the horse and go to a realtor first, which is ridiculous, because then the realtor is waiting around. If you don't qualify, the realtor is waiting around for you to get your credit in order, so then they can start showing you homes. So always see realtors second. Again, lenders first, realtors second when it comes to purchasing a home. And again, people are saying, well, should I put money down? Obviously, the more that you can put down, it's going to help your rate, especially, in this day and age. Again, that was another big problem around 06, 07. There were loans out there, no money down. Again, these adjustable rate mortgages, which were just murder. There were people out there, my God, I know lenders that were, back in 06 and 07, 08, that were selling some people 4 or 5 condos, houses. And these people had no idea that the rates were going to change in a couple of years, and that's what led to the whole housing market just collapsing. It was a disaster. But even before that all went down, as the prices were going up and up and up, I kept saying to myself, well, at some point, something's got to happen here. And it did. Again, everything, the whole thing fell apart. That's why I recommend The Big Short, because there's about 4 or 5 guys out there who knew, maybe a few more, that saw this and knew it was going to happen. Unfortunately, it wasn't the right people in the Bush administration at the time, and and they didn't care what these guys had to say, because nobody believed that the housing market, which was so strong at the time, would ever collapse. But again, we all know what happened. It was a disaster. So check out The Big Short. A couple other things that I wanted to talk about. Again, as I'm looking through my notes here, really, again, is just your credit reports again. You really should be checking them out every 3-4 months. Sign up with the service, and just always know what your scores are. You should always know what's going on with your credit. Like I said, there's more fraud out there than ever, because With technology, people are becoming wiser and wiser, and they're getting your information. And people are asking me about LifeLock and companies like that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Whatever you have to do to make yourself feel comfortable, then go ahead and do it. They're not that expensive either. But always be checking your report. Again, as I tell people, it is your life blood when it comes to your credit. So really the most important thing to do. But one more thing I wanted to talk about before we leave tonight is that everyone's watching the election tonight, and they want to see what's going to go on and what's going to happen and how is this going to affect the housing market. And I think we're just going to have to wait and see really what goes down. You can't. You just got to vote for whoever you think is who you're more comfortable with. Obviously, Trump sometimes it just seems to challenge too many people, and it would just let a lot of what people are saying go. He did not respond to every little thing that people say. Then he wouldn't get in so much trouble. But as far as Hillary goes, I think that the housing market will probably be okay with her. She seems to care about it. Not that Trump doesn't, but there's two different candidates, and they're both going in different directions. Not different from any other Republican or a Democrat, because they all seem to go in the same way and promise you the same thing every 4 years. And they all go, one's going way to the right and one's going way to the left, and this year it's more than ever. So just got to vote for who you think is who can get the job done. I can't tell you, because I honestly don't know. This one I couldn't tell you. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be a very interesting next few hours, to say the least. And if it's anything that would happen with Gore and Bush several years ago, then we'll all be up till 8 in the morning figuring out who won. So in closing, one more thing I want to talk about is credit cards. I was talking to a guy today that had absolutely no credit. He was wondering, he still pays his bills at a currency exchange, and this day and age, the old school way just isn't going to work. You have to have a checking account. You've got to have a checking account and you've got to pay your bills through that, because again, this is all going to help your credit report. So first things first, if you don't have a checking account, you need to get a checking account, and you need to open credit cards. Credit cards, again, build trade lines. Trade lines help build credit scores. We have a caller before we go. Hello.
Hey, Mike, I just want to thank you so much. I watched your show with the other guy a couple weeks ago, got those secured credit cards, and it's awesome. They gave them to me, and it's helping my credit. My Credit Karma score already went up.
Yeah, I was trying to make out what you were saying there. It's a good show. I mean, everybody should check us out. We're here Tuesday nights at 6 o'clock, and we're going to try to steer you the right way. We're not going to lie to you. We're going to tell you the way it is, But thank you for calling. And again, Todd Stern is going to...
Good work, and thanks a lot, man.
Thank you. Baba Booey to you. But anyways, again, just if you want, again, it's the people who tell you what you want to hear are the guys that you really need to walk away from. So the people that keep it straight with you and keep it honest with you, those are the guys that you should listen to. So that pretty much does it. Again, check out Todd Stern. He will be back next week, 6 o'clock next Tuesday. I am Michael Stern. Thank you for joining us, and have a good evening. Take care. Good night.